Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fire Safe Sonoma Speaker Series. My name is Roberta McIntyre, and I am the President and CEO of Fire Safe Sonoma. And today, we have a really cool speaker today, which is probably why there's so many people in attendance. Before we get started, though, I want to remind folks that you can still, I know there's a lot of stuff going on in our world today, and particularly in our nation. But I did want to remind folks that you can still donate to some of the fire victims from the Maui wildfire that happened back in August of this year. Mason's going to put in the chat a link to the California Fire Foundation's Relief Fund. And that's set up for the citizens and firefighters impacted by that August 23 wildfire. And it's run through the Hawaii Firefighters Association, the International Association of Firefighters, Local 1463. And they directly administer the donation portal, and they're making sure that 100% of the proceeds are directed to that group for distribution. So look for that in the chat as soon as Mason gets a chance to drop it in. And then those who weren't here last month probably don't remember who we had, but last month we had Mike Wilson from the California Fire Safe Council. He is our Northern California Fire Safe Council representative, and we work really close with the California Fire Safe Council as a countywide Fire Safe Council. And Mike Wilson is our point of contact for Northern California through the California Council. He's a real good guy. We love working with him, and I heard rumors he really likes working with us too. And then next month is our last month that we do speaker series for the year. So 2023 November will be our last month. We don't have any presentations in December. And I'm not going to divulge who the speaker is next month. You'll just have to either pop in or look for our announcement of who it is once we send it out. I want to try to keep it a secret for a little while. And then we got a lot of cool stuff coming up next year. We're already lining up really cool speakers for next year, and I'm going to keep that a secret too. So again, don't forget, in December we are dark, and then we'll kick off the series again in January, third Thursday in January from 2 to 3. And then if you want to watch us on YouTube, that's when we stream it live, same time, third Thursday of the month, from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on Fire Safe Sonoma YouTube. All right, so enough of that jibber jabber. This month we have Dr. Nancy Brown from Sonoma County Department of Emergency Management on the call or on the program. Dr. Nancy Brown is the Community Preparedness Program Manager for the Sonoma County Department of Emergency Management. She's originally from Southern California. She earned a Master of Science degree at California State University. And she also completed her PhD in Emergency Management at Massey University, Wellington, New Zealand, a place that's on my bucket list to go. This interdisciplinary study combined relatively new disaster science with hospitality industry studies, community resilience, and organizational resilience studies. And her long-time objectives include continued deployment of pragmatic ways to build disaster resilience that engage communities and businesses in a systematic way, resulting in a culture of resilience. And I've been to a couple of presentations Nancy has either put on herself or proctored, and she does an amazing job. And I think Sonoma County government is really lucky to have her. And in her presentation today, what we'll do is we'll look at the remarkable changes in our county emergency management system that evolved since the 2017 Northern California wildfires. It was kind of a harrowing time, and a lot of lessons were learned out of that disaster. And Nancy's going to share some of those lessons learned with us today. With that, I am going to be quiet now, as many of you were hoping, and I'm going to pass the baton over to you, Nancy, to kick it off. And I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the presentation.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate the introduction. And I really appreciate your organization. Let me just get my screen shared and we will get going here. And everybody can see my screen?
Yes, it's up and running.
Perfect. All righty. So what we're going to talk about, as Roberta mentioned today, is we're going to talk about how far we have come as a county. And this isn't just Sonoma County Department of Emergency Management or the county. I'm talking about everybody. That includes, of course, fire safe councils and lots of other organizations that are working really hard to build that resiliency within the community to make sure that we can keep everybody safe. And that's really the key. We have talked a lot about things that went wrong in 2017, and I was not here in 2017. So let me just preface with that. I came here in 2019, but I have heard a lot of different stories from people who had losses in 2017 or just lived the community at that time. And I know that there's a lot of profound change that had to happen because things didn't go the way they should at that time. And I'm going to talk about some of those things. And here's what I hope. I hope that as you listen to the different things that have changed over the time, it makes you feel more comfortable about fire season and about living in Sonoma County, and that you really feel what I feel, which is this super great encouragement with all the different things that are going on here that are really just wrapping around the community to really help people be more and more comfortable and more empowered to take care of themselves. So, you know, it's unfortunate that something like 2017 had to happen. But I think it was a very pivotal time. The way that emergency management in general changed a lot in 2005 with Katrina, where there was huge failures in the emergency management system that led to some of the tragic outcomes from the Katrina hurricane. And I think for Sonoma County, that 2017 fire was really that pivotal moment here that helped everybody understand how important it is to be always preparing for things, whether or not you believe they're going to happen. And that's really one of the big keys, is that a lot of people didn't think wildfire was something that the wine country area really needed to worry about. And prior to that, it had been many years. So institutional knowledge of wildfire had been lost in this area. But then we had an opportunity to really take a hard look at systems in a million different ways and find better ways to do things. Let's start with our SoCo alert system. So in 2017, SoCo alert, so if you're unaware, SoCo alert is the county's emergency alert system. This is an opt-in system. What that means is you have to sign up for it. So in 2017, the SoCo alert system had a few thousand at best subscribers to the system. It was relatively new. It had not been well adopted by the community yet. And I mean, those types of things take time. Also, when you have an alerting system, to get the community to actually sign up for it is a big hurdle that people come over. And then, of course, neighbors were a really important system in 2017, because I think what most people who were in the fire's path had an opportunity to realize was their neighbors were the ones knocking on their door, telling them, hey, wake up, pay attention. Or they heard people out in the street making noise and recognized that it was time for them to take action. Since that time, a lot of changes have happened. And one of those changes, of course, is how we do alert and warning in Sonoma County now. So now we have a lot of different things that we're relying on, not just one or two. So we still have SoCo alert. One of the amazing things that are happened to SoCo alert is it is still an opt-in system, but through some amazing legislation that came out of the state of California, PG&E has to share their data with us, which means if you get gas or electricity in your home, your data that you provide to PG&E with regard to your cell phone number, your email, that is shared with our SoCo alert system and updated on a regular basis, which means we have thousands and thousands and thousands of people in that system now instead of a handful. So that makes that system very robust, and the capacity to send that alert out to a lot of people is much better. Another really big change, the NOAA weather radio being used here in the county. We believe we're the first people to use this for something like wildfire. NOAA weather radios have been ubiquitous throughout the hurricane belt and tornado belt because people have these radios in their homes in those areas to let them know when a tornado or hurricane is coming their way. We used it first time for wildfire in 2019 and have continued to utilize that system, and the adoption of NOAA weather radios in the community has gotten larger and larger. And one of the important things about the NOAA weather radio system is it's a non-cellular system. It's not tied to the cable. It's a completely different system, which adds a great redundancy to our alerting capacity. If you have a NOAA weather radio in your home and you have it plugged in so that it's operational, if there is a need for us to alert you in the middle of the night, it will set off a very loud tone. And this will let you know that you need to pay attention, get up, wake up, and see what's going on in the neighborhood. If the cell system is down, if your cell phone is just powered out, if the cable system is down, if any of these other systems fail, this is an alternate system. So that makes it a super great added system to the suite that we have here. We also use the wireless emergency alert system. Earlier this month, we had a wireless emergency alert test. I think it was October 4th. So hopefully most of you got that test at that time. This is a great system for people who have cell phones that are functioning when the cell system is working, because we can alert everybody in an area. So that means for us here in an area where there's lots of tourism, people that are here that have cell phones turned on in the county are also getting alerts. So that's a really important thing in a community that has a lot of tourists, that this gives us an opportunity to alert people in our area, whether or not they're aware that they need to be signed up and things like that. The emergency alert system, which is our television and radio system, alert system, used to be the workhorse. But here's one of the biggest flaws, and that is that your television or your radio need to be turned on. Now, we know for sure that at 3 and 4 in the morning, fewer and fewer people are having those devices on, which means if we need to reach you late at night, early in the morning when you're asleep, those systems are not as valuable to us. Many of our first responders utilize Nixle or Civic Ready to send you information and alerting you about things going on in the community. Technically, Nixle is not actually an alert system because it can't broadcast a loud tone or something like that, but it does send you alerts into your text system and let you know that things are going on. So if you do have your phone set to receive an audible sound when a text comes in, you will hear it and know that that's happening. And last, but absolutely not least, is our neighborhood groups. And we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but many of you, I know many of you are active in your neighborhoods, whether it's with your fire safe group, your COPE, communities organized to prepare for emergency group, your meet your neighborhood group, your map your neighborhood group, if you're a block captain, lots of different ways that people get involved in the community. But this is really the sweet spot for when we talk about how to make sure everybody gets an alert. We know for sure that there's always going to be people who don't have their cell phone on, who don't even have digital things in their home to receive alerts, who don't have other ways for people to reach into their home and let them know what's going on. But we do know that most of them also have neighbors. So when we have neighbors that are working together in their community, we know that we have a much better chance to get to that lofty goal of 100% of the people know what's going on and are able to react appropriately and keep themselves and their families safe. Beyond these everyday types of programs that we have for alerting the community, we've also stepped into some special programs, things that we think we've identified hotspots of problems that we're just not sure how to solve and trying to come up with solutions for them. One of them is the bunkhouse program. And this poster you see here is the Spanish version. If you flipped it over, you would see the English version, but it's basically designed for our agricultural partners who bring in people during harvest season, specifically for harvest. So they're here for a short time. They're not always the same people every year. They don't always have a cellular phone that's working here. They certainly aren't necessarily signed up for SoCo Alert and some of these other things. But we have these posters that we're distributing to our agricultural partners along with a NOAA weather radio. And the idea is if you're here on a short-term basis and in the middle of the night, you need to get an alert. If you had a NOAA weather radio in your bunk, it would go off and let you know something's going on. So it would give you an opportunity to get an alert regardless of your situation at that time. And then this poster would tell you things like what your zone is, where to tune in for information at the local radio stations and things like that. Just some very basic information. We have a similar poster like this that we have developed that's for our travel partners, and it looks like this. And it's developed as a little bit smaller, it's a little bit friendlier, but provides that same thing, that it provides you an opportunity to, if you're not from the area, if you're not even from the country, you have an opportunity to see where you are, what your evacuation zone is, where to tune in for local information. And we think these are really important things for those groups of people that are not going to be a stable group of people that we're trying to teach them our system. They're people that are dropping into our community for a short period of time, but may be here when something crazy happens. And then, of course, as mentioned earlier, our NOAA weather radio system. One of the nice things about this system is some of these brands also offer an opportunity for those who are hard of hearing or functionally hard of hearing when they go to bed at night and take their hearing aids out. To get an alert also, so it provides a pillow shaker and a strobe light in addition to that loud tone, so that people who are trying to be able to get an alert in the middle of the night, but they're asleep, they have their hearing aids out, or they're deaf, have an opportunity to get that message in a different way. I'd like to invite all of you who are listening today to think about things that you have identified where you go, this is crazy. There's no solution for this problem. And you know what? Let me know what some of those things are, because we work really hard to try to identify those and see if we can come up with some solutions that will help work that problem. Some solutions are harder to come by than others. Some solutions take years instead of days. But if you let us know what you're thinking, we'd love to take the opportunity to actually try to work down into that. Another big thing that's helped us, especially during fire season, is the fire camera system. So in 2017, this wasn't really a thing. So there really was not a fire camera system. And one of the things we know from the history of that 2017 incident was one of the big problems is we didn't know where the fire was and where it was going. So we just didn't have the capacity at the time to track that information and to communicate that information in real time effectively. What we do have now, of course, is we have a full fire alert camera program. So I know many of you have gone on Alert Wildfire. We had a fire up in the Geyserville area just, I think it was yesterday. And you could look with the camera at that area. You could see the fire. You could see what was going on. You could see water dropping. You could see that thing getting locked down fast. And these cameras are so helpful for our firefighter community to actually be able to monitor a large area, to be able to spot things when they happen quickly, instead of having hills pop up, having fire flames popping up over the hill without anybody knowing what's going on. So these have really helped us be able to find fire quickly and put it out when it's a very small fire. And I think that's a very important thing when you talk about firefighters and how they fight fire, because I mean, the first thing we have to do is we have to know it's happening, right? So these fire cameras are really helping with that situational awareness to help us really understand where the fires are and get resources to them quickly in order to keep fires small and manageable the entire time. A systemic change, and this is one of the important things that's really changed a lot of the different things I was just talking about for us. And that is that in 2017, Fire and Emergency Services looked after emergency management. So emergency management was a section of Fire and Emergency Services, and Fire and Emergency Services was a very busy organization looking after a lot of different things, including hazardous material and fire prevention. So they had basically 2 full-time people and some extra help folks that were working on the emergency management section, because that's the resources that were available at the time to get that job done. Now, what the Board of Supervisors found after the 2017 fire was That's not enough, that they need to commit resources to making sure that emergency management is a priority in the county. And they did so by creating the Department of Emergency Management, which is the department that I work for. We have 15 full-time people working for us. We also have extra help and we have interns. We have a focus of preparedness and response, and we have funds to do our job. So this is a big deal. So all the things I just talked about, the fire cameras, the alert and warning program, all those things are being done by people who are working in the emergency management department, who have the time and resources to get these really important programs off the ground and running. And I think that's very important difference. And I think the Board of Supervisors did a great thing, because I got a job, but beyond that, it's a great thing that we have these people working in the community all the time, trying to figure out the very best way to keep 100% of the people safe. In addition, with the Department of Emergency Management, we have had 3 major fires, a pandemic, a flood. So we've been very busy since we started. We've opened the Emergency Management Center, the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, many, many times since 2019. I feel very happy to say that in Sonoma County, we have not had any loss of life due to fire since we started with the emergency management, and all of the different things that have happened and been improved in all of our partner agencies across the county. So it's not just the county's agencies that are improving, it's everybody who's been able to provide additional resources and look at things differently than our 2017 image of the county. This is some of the important planning that's been done. So you see that's quite a list. And you'll notice most of these plans happened since 2020. And that's simply because we haven't had a wildfire in the last couple of years, which, oh my gosh, I feel like just my heart just soars when I get to say that, because that's an amazing thing to be able to say. And there's a lot of reasons for that, including we haven't had some of that really bad, heavy, windy weather that we had in previous years. But all of these different plans are able to be taken and planned for. And we're really getting down into the nitty gritty of planning when we look at, having plans for each of these different types of things. These plans, by the way, are all available at our website. You can read these plans yourself if you want to. And these plans are all directed at how does the county operate in these different situations. What is it that we need? What resources do we need? How do we connect together? How do we work together? And this is the really important thing, because day-to-day operations, all of our county partners do an amazing job taking care of house fires, taking care of local fires, taking care of public incidents that need to be taken care of by our law enforcement partners, all of these different things that are day-to-day things. But when we talk about things that by definition in a disaster reach a scale where an individual agency can't handle that anymore, they need people to help them make it work. That's what emergency management is all about. It's about coordinating all of those different agencies. And that's what this planning is all about. We have a really great program we're going to start launching next year that's going to look at each of these different annexes and provide an opportunity for our operational partners to come together and learn about the annexes, do tabletop drills with these annexes, so that we continue to keep our skills really sharp and continue to learn how to make things quick, easy, and efficient when time counts. One of the other things we've been able to do is we've been able to do some great evacuation exercises. I see some people here who have had an opportunity to have an evacuation exercise in your community. I think everybody that has one of these exercises agrees that this is a really, really great way for a couple of different things. One, for the community to come together in a more profound way. So people working together to get this exercise going. But the other thing is just getting that muscle memory of learning how to get from point A to point B and what needs to happen so that the whole community can get out and be safe. Where to go, what the different things work like in terms of the different systems that will alert you. So we feel very happy to be able to do these because resources are not infinite. We're not able to do a lot of these each year, but we are able to do 1 or 2 each year. Also, we have a new program with community preparedness. And one of the things we're able to offer moving forward is an opportunity for some communities who are not already on the wildland urban interface high risk list to apply to have a community exercise in their community. And I'll get you some more information about that a little bit later as we move through the rest of the presentation. When I talked about planning, all of that has to do with partnerships. And I think it's important for everybody to understand all of these different pieces that are working behind the scenes to try to make sure that when seconds count, everybody's working and rowing together in the same direction. So one of the things we do is we have an operational area call every single Monday in the county where first responder partners all hop on and share situational awareness. 90% of the time, this is a very short call. We get a weather report. Everybody says nothing to report and we hang up. But this is the same call that we use when we're moving towards an incident as well. So if there's a red flag warning, or if the National Weather Service has predicted that we might possibly have a flood situation, these operational area calls are happening daily or sometimes twice a day to once again make sure that everybody knows what's going on across the county and that we don't drop the ball in any particular area, and that people who need help in their area and need resources have a way to ask everybody quickly and easily. So I think these operational area calls are really important, and the fact that we do them regularly, like doing an evacuation exercise, it just provides an opportunity every single week for people to know how to hop on the call, what the order of the things is, when they're going to get a chance to talk. So when we're doing this in an actual incident, these calls also run super smooth and are super efficient. We also have, of course, during fire season, we have a weekly fire season call where our fire departments are working, and that happens after the operational call. And the other thing that the fire departments all do is they now have capacity to do upstaffing. So there's upstaffing during fire season, and then when there's a red flag warning, there's additional upstaffing. That's really important because that means when we need the resources are at the ready. We don't have to scramble to try to get resources from other places. And I think that's a really important point when you look at things like locking down a small fire in the geysers just the other day, that there's resources at the ready that can roll and get that thing locked down quickly. We're also doing joint exercises and preparedness activities. So lots of different things that we're doing in the community. And then, of course, the thing I think is maybe, as I mentioned earlier, one of the most important things is our local preparedness network development. Many of you have heard me say many, many times that the education and these things are really important, but the real important thing is the networks we're developing. So whether it's the networks at the operational level, or if it's the networks in your neighborhood, these are the people that you're going to depend on in the first few minutes of a disaster. And they're also the people you're going to depend on for information and things like that, should information be hard to come by. And I think it's important to recognize that the amount of work being done at the local level is tremendous, that the education going on in all of our different partner groups throughout the community is tremendous. People planning together, people working together to understand what to do, how to do it, and who might need help in their neighborhood, identifying the resources in their neighborhood. And this is really, really critical, doing the hard mitigation work. This is how we're actually, I think, this is really the key to how we're able to say we didn't have a wildfire last year. We didn't have a wildfire the year before, because so many of these things are happening in the community, and so much mitigation is really, really keeping the community safer and safer by making sure that we're ready to respond and that we've done everything we can in our community to actually be able to keep everybody safe. Just a few other things that we're learning about the community. So we've done a couple surveys. One of the surveys we did was after Kincaid Fire. We also did a survey after the Walbridge Fire of the community. Now, first of all, if you get an opportunity, should we be unlucky and have another disaster in the community and you have an opportunity to do one of these surveys, gosh, I hope you'll do it. And I think it's important for you to know that this information is instrumental in change. And it's not just a survey and then we throw the information in a box. This survey is something that people look at all the time. People ask for data, and this is the data that we have. So it's very important, and I'll give you a super great example. One of the things that we asked in the Kincaid fire led us to get answers back from the community that said, and if you switch back to 2019, for those of you who were here, the power went out, and we had a public safety power shutoff that preceded the Kincaid fire, and the power was out for a long time, a number of different times in that year, in a way that it hasn't been in subsequent years. So all the signals were out, and one of the big comments from people was, it's impossible to be safe when the signals are out. Now, at that time, the basic thinking was, with public safety was, if the signal's out, then people are supposed to know that this is a four-way stop. So then everybody stops and treats it like there's 4 stop signs. And that's perfectly logical. But what the comments that we got back were, that wasn't working, and that people, for whatever reason, if they're unfamiliar with the area, or if they're just, not paying as close of attention because tensions are high, or blowing through those intersections, and it was dangerous to move through the community. So the very next year, when we got to the Walbridge fire and other power outages at major intersections throughout the county, there was signs to help the community navigate that. So that made a difference when we were able to gather that information. And another thing we've gathered about all of these different surveys is that the community is on edge during fire season. And they feel really strongly that whether there's a fire, whether there's not a fire, there's a lot of stress, because they're always wondering, will it happen now? Will it happen today? Which I completely get. So one of the changes we made is we stopped trying to talk about other things during fire season. So for example, and this is a super great example, today happens to be Shakeout Day. And you didn't see a lot of hoopla from our websites about Shakeout, just a short mention of it. Because what we decided was, we don't need to think about earthquakes right now. We're right in the throes of thinking about fires. So we've decided to make it the Sonoma County Shakeout in April, which is also Earthquake Safety Month. And that would give us an opportunity to really focus on earthquakes at a time where people's focus wasn't already on something else. So, trying to take into consideration different comments really does make different things happen in the community. Another way that preparedness is working in the community is trying to find new ways to reach people. We have 2 different media events going on right now. The Prepare Yourself episodes, there's 5 episodes that just concluded. They are available on YouTube through KRCB Public Television, as well as the KRCB station. And these are different styles of preparedness shows. So they're entertaining, for lack of a better word. They're 26 minutes. They have a lot of small vignettes in each of those episodes that are 2, 3, or 4 minutes with songs and different ways to capture people's attention. And here's what we know. We know that a lot of people have taken it to heart and are getting ready. And we also know that probably about 30% of the community is just not paying attention and are not going to get ready based on the information they're getting currently. So we're trying to find new ways all the time to get people's attention and to say, hey, being prepared is good. Being prepared will change your outcome. That the more ready you are, the less disruption you'll have. And so this particular show is one of those ways. And then with our KBBF Spanish radio partner, we're doing an 8-part series that's talking to people and telling stories about preparedness and about disaster to try to help people understand preparedness in another way. You may have seen some of our different social media and different media campaigns that we worked on to try to help our neighborhood leaders and everybody else hear preparedness everywhere they look. And that's really one of our goals, is that everywhere you look, you hear that everybody's getting prepared. Because here's what we know. We know that people will act if it's simple and easy to do, if it's something they have the capacity to do, and if everybody else is doing it. So if through social media and neighbors and everything else, we can convince people that aren't getting prepared that they're the last people, they're the ones who aren't doing it, they will begin to move toward preparedness. So all of these different things are really designed to help that happen. We also have a web page, which we developed. So if you're a community leader, if you're working in your local community and producing any types of newsletters, things like that, this community preparedness messaging that we have on our SoCoemergency.org website has a whole bunch of different resources for you with lots of different messaging in Spanish. The messaging is also in English. There's some fact sheets there, so you know what the high level things that people need to know about different types of disasters are. And this is all designed to help everybody share in the community. Another thing, of course, from our community, from the community preparedness section is we do have evac packs, which I'm not sure if you can see me now or not, but they're a sheet that has an emergency planning guide. It also has an evacuation checklist and some other tools all put together in one package that we do love to circulate in the community and provide to communities, leaders who want to pass them out in their neighborhood. And then, of course, we also provide speakers. We do provide speakers in English. That would be me. We also have a bilingual aide who is working on presentations for Spanish speakers. So if you would like a topic discussed in your neighborhood at your annual meeting or whatever that looks like, come and talk to us. We would love to come down to your neighborhood. We'd love to come speak to you and tell you whatever it is you want to know about. If you want to know about earthquakes, if you want to know about go bags, if you want to know about psychological first aid, we're happy to talk to you about whatever topic works in your community and come down and talk to 10 of your people or 100 of your people, whatever that looks like for you. That is my presentation. And here's a couple of things I hope happened. First of all, I hope you feel super excited about the advances because I think so much has happened in our community. I think we've learned so many different things together and moved forward together in a pretty profound way. When I look at what's going on across the nation and I talk to other preparedness people in different communities, they don't have the support we have here. They haven't had the loss we've had either. So we've had a great opportunity to learn together, and I hope that you will share with other people the great progress that we've made, so they'll feel really great about where we're going and that we can continue to move forward together. And I think at this point, we're ready for questions.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Nancy, if you want for that presentation. And I did pull some questions out of the chat as we went along. So I'll toss those to you. And then we'll see what folks, if folks have any more questions, following the ones that we've got in the chat so far. So back to the NOAA radios, there was a question. Sarah writes, we have a NOAA radio, but did not receive National Emergency Test Notice. Any idea why?
So let's back up to how do you know it's operational? So one of the things you can do, so if you have the Midland variety, which I think a lot of people were distributed that variety, most of the radios, there's a way to push a button to actually hear the weather. So if you have your radio on and you can hear the weather, then you should receive the test. So that's the first part. Some people can't hear that, and that has to do with maybe they need to adjust their antenna. In my home, from time to time, for whatever reason, I can't hear the radio and I have to adjust my antenna a little bit. That I live kind of on the edge of a place where you can get it. But if you can hear the actual weather being played, you should get an alert, and you should get it at any time that happens. So then my second thing would be in our department, our alert and warning manager, Sam Wallace, would love to hear from you, because these are the things he loves to take a deep dive on and see if he can solve problems. So if you can hear the weather radio and you can hear the weather, if you could reach out to me, and I hope we'll drop my contact information in the chat, my email, and then we can get you connected with Sam, and he can dive deeper into that and see if there's something else going on that he can help resolve.
Yeah, one of the problems I've had with mine is making sure it's programmed for the right area, because it makes a difference if it's not programmed for the right area. But it sounds like with Sarah's issue, it may have been the overall test So she should have gotten it regardless. So,
Right.
okay. Next question, Erica writes, does the NOAA radio only send a tone, or will it also provide details as to the danger?
That's a great question. Thank you. So it sends a tone. It also has a scroll message that is short, like wildfire, evacuate, something like that. And then it also has a short message. Now, that said, it's a very short message, so it's not going to give you a lot of detail. For more detail, you're going to need to either go to SoCoemergency.org. When there's something going on our landing page, there's a big red box on the front page that has the latest information about what's going on. You can also tune to any of our partners, so KSRO, KRCB, KBBF. These partners are amazing at actually getting the information to you. So if your cell phone and your internet aren't working, and you can go to your car radio or your AM FM transistor radio to get information from them to get the details of what are going on, because none of the alert and warning methods in that alert and warning message give you a lot of detail. And just like an example, I think it's 90 characters you get with a wireless emergency alert message, and that's including spaces. So you can see you're not going to get a lot of information there. If we're telling you where the fire happened and the streets and things, you're not getting much else other than that. So you'll need to have an alternate source at the ready to go get the rest of that information. And as I said, if you have internet, go to SoCoemergency.org. Or if you're going on the radio, KSRO, KRCB, and KBBFR Spanish speakers would be great sources to get live streaming information about what's happening.
Yeah, and also remember, these are electronic devices. They rely on a power source and backup batteries. And, you know, it is a device that can fail, or all the systems that are connected to it that come to you through the antenna. Those are all a lot of moving parts too. So, you know, it's not 100%. So I wouldn't rely on just this as your only form of communication for alerts and warnings. So definitely sign up for SoCo alerts and all that. With that said, Nancy, somebody asked in the chat, I think I can take a stab at this first. They asked, why is Watch Duty not listed as an alert resource in this presentation? And I think it's probably because Watch Duty is a nonprofit, non-governmental entity that you're probably not allowed to advertise as a government entity, or for whatever reason, but it's not part of county government. However, you know, we did a story or a speaker series on Watch Duty last year. So I dropped that in the chat if anybody wants to take a look at that. It's a really cool platform. But do you want to add to that or tell me how?
I would. You know, I think Watch Duty is doing an amazing job, and I think they're great. And I will leave names unnamed, but I happen to know yesterday when I was talking to somebody about the Occidental fire, that's an official, they pulled up Watch Duty to show me information about what was going on. So, I mean, it's a great tool. It's super user friendly. It's not part of our official government alert and warnings, though. It's a tool outside that's doing an amazing job and filling a great gap.
Yeah, and I recommend it. And also to be aware, like Fire Safe Sonoma, it's an NGO nonprofit. So if you do subscribe to the app, please send them some kind of donation, because they rely on the donations to keep them running. And just kind of real quick in a nutshell, how it works is they have a cadre of volunteers, you know, retired firefighters, you know, currently working firefighters who are off duty, other people who are interested in, you know, emergency communications. They'll have scanners on and they'll be listening to incidents that come across the fire radio on the scanner. And then if they hear something, they go into the app on their side and see if anything else has been put out about that incident and either correct that information or put the information out or whatever. It's pretty sophisticated on the back end, but it is all volunteer driven as well.
Thank you for that. And, I wanted to add one more thing. You mentioned, don't just rely on the NOAA weather radio. And I know I ticked off a lot of things, and we're adding some other things also that are available to keep you in the know of what's happening. But I think it's important that you understand when I'm providing a list for you, I'm not suggesting you pick one.
Right.
I'm suggesting you have all of them. You need a layer of information coming at you. I know for sure that I have an AT&T cell phone and a Verizon cell phone, and they can be sitting next to each other on my desk, and one will get an alert and the other will not. And there's a lot of things that go into that. And as you said, there's no system that's foolproof, but the more different ways you have to get the same information, the more chance we have for you to actually get it, because systems are very complicated. They rely on a lot of other things going on. There's a lot of moving parts in all of them. So I think when you think about, oh, well, I already have this, so I don't need that. Have them all. Here's one of the things that from the surveys I think is hysterical, and I always get a chuckle to myself every time I hear it. So some of the questions talk about alert and warnings on our after event surveys. And the two top things we hear from people is, number one, I didn't get the alerts. The second one is, why did I get so many alerts? So, and it's just a great illustration of the systems work in different ways for different people that live in different areas with different, so you don't want to have one system. If on that list, you only have one of those, I challenge you today to pick up a second one right now. And to make sure that you have all the capacities you possibly can to get those alerts, including walking next door to your neighbor and making a handshake agreement with them that you are also going to keep each other in the loop should you need to, because that's the only way it's going to work.
In the fire service, we used to call that situational awareness. Part of that is knowing what the weather's doing. Has it been dry for a while? Is it really windy today? Is today a red flag day? Those things right out of the gate. Be thinking about those, and be, thinking about, what are your neighbors talking about? Have they gotten alerts and you haven't? Just all that situational awareness. Be aware. At the end of the day, we don't want to resort to relying on smoke signals to figure out there's a fire a quarter mile away. That's not going to work well. Okay. Any more questions in the queue? I don't see any. I think Anne had a comment. I think we addressed just now with the situational awareness. Let me see. I'm going to toss Anne's comment to you, Nancy or Dr. Brown, and see if you want to elaborate on it since we have time. The system of alerts relies too much on one's contacts and familiarity with the system. It's complicated and arcane. Too many people will not get the information. It's like going into a speakeasy and you have to know to say, Joe sent me for emergency information. You need like a password, I guess, to get into speakeasy. It can be complicated. You know what, Nancy, I remember you and I spoke a few months back about possibility of having people at the libraries who could help people navigate some of the messiness with all the technology. Did that ever evolve to anything, or do we have a central?
The libraries are great partners. As a matter of fact, this weekend we'll be at the Rincon Valley Library and at the Santa Rosa Central Library talking about go bags. They do have evac packs at all the libraries as well for distribution in English and Spanish. And we've talked to the libraries about a lot of different things that, and we're working towards a partnership where the libraries really could be a great resource in an emergency, that they would, be open, have backup generators, have the power they need to stay open, have radio support and all of those different things, and working towards trying to find ways to build them into a better resource in the community, because we do have a great library system, and we have libraries in many, many places with the exception of the coast. Where people are used to going and it's easy access, and it has all the things that they need there. We're also actually working with the libraries right now in signing an MOU, memorandum of understanding, so that they can be warming and cooling centers in the community, so that they'll be an easy place to go to. So we're certainly working in lots of different ways and hope to continue to work towards those different things. And I think if I could, I did want to mention one more thing, and that is the community activities program that we have. So we have a grant that is funding our capacity to provide to small neighborhood communities. So this could be your 10 or 12 houses or your 30 or 40 houses. The capacity to bring a couple of activities into your community. The first one is we're offering a first aid and CPR class. And that is for up to 20 people, and it needs to be at a local community area. So it could be in your community park, it could be in a community center. It has to be ADA compliant, and we'll pay for the instructor for you to get that done. The other is for an evacuation exercise for a neighborhood of 30 to 100 maximum homes, so a small neighborhood area, to get an evacuation exercise like some of the ones we talked about actually in your neighborhood. We're taking applications right now, so we probably won't be able to give everybody everything they want. This is a 3-year program, so we're going to be offering over the 3 years this and other things as well. But please apply if you're working in a neighborhood or you want to just get 10 neighbors together to see about getting CPR into your class, then please, I think they've dropped that into the chat, and send the applications are due, I think, by November 20th. So would love to have lots of participation in that and get education and the opportunity to network and work together on things into all those communities.
Great. All right. I think that's a wrap. We'll have a couple minutes to 4 minutes to close out. So thank you everyone for attending. In the next week, I'll see who our lucky winner is for the door prize today. I love doing that. It's so fun. I love giving stuff away. And then next week on the 16th, actually, no, next speaker series presenter. Oh, wait, no, see, I'm reading from the script. We don't have anybody that we want to share out about yet. That's going to be a surprise. So watch for our announcement for next month's speaker series presenter. And as always, our presentations we make them evergreen. So if you know somebody who you may want to share this presentation with, point them to our YouTube channel. It will be up. It's up there now immediately because we're live streaming, and then we'll trim it up and make it look nice as an evergreen piece of material. And I think our speaker series before this year, before 2023, we called it our Fire Alliance. So if you go to our YouTube channel and look at the playlist, you'll see a Fire Alliance playlist and then our speaker series playlist. In our Fire Alliance series, it's very similar to this. We just rebranded it at the beginning of the year. So again, thank you everyone for attending. Dr. Brown, thank you so much. A wonderful presentation as always. And I want you to train me on how to do really good slideshows. Your slideshow is just stunning. So, all right. So I think that's about it. We'll see you guys next month. And then again, we will be dark in December. And a special thanks to our crew here at Fire Safe Sonoma, Marika and Mason and Becca and Harry. Thank you guys. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you for a wonderful program.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone.